Hello my friend, a few of you guys recently have asked me if I could do an updated studio tour, and quite a lot has changed in the last year and a half since I've lived here. So this week I'm going to flip the camera and show you behind the scenes of my home studio. Okay, so with camera flipped, this is kind of like my view when I'm doing the videos for Real Home Studio. The first thing, which I've noticed actually a few times when I'm shooting the video, is how much potential this exposed brick has. If I move this guitar rack and could create a bit of space in between these lights, maybe had another set of lights for convenience this end, so I could have fluctuate between the setups, you can make a really nice performance area for making like acoustic YouTube videos and stuff. So yeah, lots of potential there, but at the moment it's just got a few of my guitars on racks there. Old Yamaha Pacifica and a Harley Benton, very inexpensive Strat, which is awesome. Now it gets kind of pretty chilly up here. I'm in the attic, so it gets pretty cold up in the attic in the winter, and it gets really hot in the summer. So my best instruments, specifically my best acoustic guitar, don't really live up here because it's such a temperature change. It's just not good for the wood. But the electric guitars seem fine, and a couple of the cheaper acoustics I've got haven't had any problems as of yet. I've got through one winter here, so we shall see. The temperature change can be a bit of a pain with the camera too. I mentioned that just if you're in a space which can be susceptible to temperature change. I know a lot of us home studio owners often either end up in an outbuilding or end up in like the extension or a conservatory, which can really fluctuate a lot and get really crazy hot as well. Well, the mad space is basements, and of course, like with me being in the attic, using a camera, I tend to take the camera out, particularly when it gets cold. Otherwise you're going to get a lot of condensation if you suddenly go from a warm centrally heated house into a cold space, and that can be a bit of a pain with like misting up on the lens and stuff. The best solution for that is to keep the camera in a warm place. That way you're not going to get that misting up, which can be a real pain. And if you are in a situation like that, this tiny little robotic looking like bread bin thing has been such a game changer to this space. This is a Dreo fan heater, which is like an economic fan heater. It's surprisingly cheap to run, but it keeps this space really comfortable. Sometimes in the winter you can come up here and it can be really, really cold. And it's horrible working in the cold. Last year I had an small oil heater, which just didn't really cut it really, to be honest. This is a game changer. So if you are in one of those spaces, I expect it's going to be a little bit more to run, but I've had it for a few weeks now and I've just been keeping an eye on the meter, and it's surprisingly efficient, and it does such a great job of keeping your space warm. So I strongly recommend one of those. I mean, that's a bit off topic. Let me take you back to some studio gear. So I've got some mics out at the moment. Here's CAD's M179 and also one of their pencil condensers. And can I get this one into? Up here is ESI Audio's inexpensive mic, which I'm using for my overhead today. These CAD mics are really interesting. I'm looking forward to sharing them with you guys. Also, if I swing this camera around here, hang on, let me just adjust the exposure. There we go. I've also got the CAD Equitech 100SX up here on this stand with the acoustic surround. This is a really, really interesting, cool mic. Not very expensive at all at the moment, but wow, what a mic. It's got like this really awesome vintage vibe about it. So I'm also looking forward to sharing that with you guys too. Over on this side is the stuff which I try and keep tidy. That's all the bits and bobs and other mics and stuff that's in for review, stuff that's been reviewed, all that kind of stuff, and just my own kind of mic collection too. Very inexpensive bass guitar, which I love to bits. I've had this bass since I was about 20 years old, so that's 26 years this year, and it's a beautiful thing. You can't really buy them anymore. You can see the brand there. Reassuringly pants name of Manhattan, but it's this jazz bass copy. It's there's no attention to the wood grain or anything. It's literally 4 bits of wood slammed together But it's got a lot of history and I love it. So yeah, there's that bass. Let's swing you back round again. Very important, going back for you guys that live in variable temperature environments. You've got to have a fan as well. Lights, let me just adjust the exposure back again. The lights are old photographic, just diffuser umbrellas with just a couple of sort of eBay photo lights. And they're the two lights that I use positioned either side to do my YouTube videos. And what I film on at the moment is this Nikon D5100, which I've had for over 10 years now. I have been looking at some new cameras recently. This Nikon camera's done me so well. There's kind of the downside with the DSLRs is they're primarily made for photography and then video second and then finally audio. So the audio is a bit of a setback sometimes. I've noticed that with doing mic tests as well recently, that if I'm running a mic and I'm going through my DBX, which I'll show you in a moment, and then going into the camera, when it gets processed through the camera, it doesn't come out half as nice as it would do if it was coming out of the DBX and going into a separate recorder, which is, it just makes life a bit harder. So I tend to then, I'll record, if I'm doing a mic test, I'll do the audio on something like this R4 separately. Hello my friend, just interrupting this video for a moment to ask you a question. Are you fed up creating underwhelming mixes that just don't stand out on sites like Spotify? If that sounds familiar, I've got some good news. I've created a course just for you. It's called Pro Mix Method and it's free. It's going to teach you how to create a solid foundation for your mix so you can leave frustration at the door and start getting the results that you deserve. The link for the free course Pro Mix Method is just below this video. And the autofocus is kind of slow on the Nikon too, so it's a case of just fixing the focus. And some of the newer cameras, they just look great. The Sony kind of YouTube vlogger camera that I think is around 500 or 600 quid looks great, but I'm not knocking the DSLR. It's an amazing camera. It's done me so well. And it's still a great way if you're starting out, I think, particularly, you know, with a smaller budget. These older Nikons are great value. So when I am filming with the Nikon, I'll send my overhead mic, which is this, at the moment, this ESI audio. I do, let me just sort out this exposure. I do change things from time to time and flip mics around, but it'll go through this DBX here and come out from the DBX and then straight into the input of the Nikon, which is like a mini jack input. And this makes a huge difference. I really like this rack. It just speeds up the whole process. I'm not a huge fan of having to run the audio separately. So you've got audio and the video to sync together. It just makes more work. It means you've got more files. So this is a much more streamlined way of doing it. Let me just flip this whole camera around and take you to a place where you're going to be more used to seeing. So this is the shot that you're going to be more used to seeing when I'm making my videos. What you don't see so often is, if I just move this out of the way, the little Kali sub here, which is awesome. I reviewed recently. And all these monitors. Well, I've got the Kali 8s and 6s up at the moment. I've got the 8s running in conjunction with the sub. The monitors and the sub just sound super cool. So here I've got the fine low profile boom arm, which is really cool. At the end of that, the brilliant SE Dynacaster for all of my screen stuff that I'll do and courses and any kind of interviews, anything that I'm going to do through the computer. That's the setup. And the audio is still with the trusty Focusrite just here. Focusrite 8i6. And as I showed you earlier as well, I've got the little Zoom R4 in there as well for any other sort of audio requirements. The thing I really like as well about the AR6 is, I'm just mentioning this because I've got two sets of headphones up there. I've got some closed back and some open back. It's really nice because you've got two headphone inputs on there, so there's no need for a separate headphone amp. It's a nice little interface. At the back, I've got some acoustic treatment. I've got some fiberglass panels, and in the corners some very inexpensive bass traps. It'd be really nice to get some freestanding bass traps. Now, I'd love to get a little bit more acoustic treatment in here, but this is a rented place, so there's only so much I can do. But actually, it's a pretty dry room, and it sounds pretty good. I've not really had any issues. Let me go across here. Now here is my piano, which at the moment is just set up for practice, really, and playing, just to keep my hand in between gigs. I play piano with my band. That's actually a folding piano, which is very cool. One I reviewed a while back. The speakers are on Gorilla stands. They're about the most inexpensive stands I can find that are solid. They're really good value. A pack of 2, I think around 40 quid. So really good value. Still using my Nektar MIDI controller. Presonus fader port controller over there. Just behind the Equitech microphone there, you can see a shelf just with a load of notebooks. I've kept hold of those. These are notebooks which I've started ever since I started Real Home Studio, for all the planning, the course planning, all the YouTube videos, all the places that I want to get to with Real Home Studio and my goals and stuff. I keep all of those notebooks. Yeah, it's the story so far. Under this piano is the box of shame. Every studio has to have one. It looks really tidy, but in there is a wild collection of leads, attachments, bits and bobs and stuff. In fact, look, there's a set of bongos that have escaped. But yeah, every studio is going to have a box like that somewhere, or a bag somewhere that's just got loads of things, stuff like what's down here that really should be tidied away. But I do like to keep the space as tidy as possible, but it's got to be workable too, right? So there's a balance to be had. So that's my current studio space. I feel really, really fortunate to have it. It's not always been the case. There's been plenty of times where I've just had a 4-track and 1 microphone. That would be my studio space that had to be packed away because I was living in such a small environment, or sharing the studio space with it also being a bedroom and again having to pack a lot away. It's so nice, and I bless this room and space every day that I have it to work in, and it works really well for me. Even though I call it a studio, a lot of the time it's also for filming YouTube. It's for making courses. It's just a space where I can come up and work. So it's a kind of hybrid space that also has to be super comfortable for me. And yeah, I love being up here. Especially now I bought that heater. So I hope you enjoyed this little studio tour today. Let me know in the comments box below. If you're enjoying these videos, then please do remember to like and subscribe here on YouTube. Liking and subscribing really helps me to keep making more cool content on this channel. And if you enjoyed this video, you definitely want to check this next one out.